Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! I don't have any kind of special edition.
No special edition on this. It's just Front Office Friday.
Actually, I do.
Oh.
2 months to the trade deadline edition.
Oh, I like it. I like it. 2 months till the trade deadline edition of the NBA Front Office Show. Keith, let me ask you this. Let's be Punxsutawney Phil for a moment here. What would you project for this year's trade deadline? Do we get an early trade season? Do we get a late trade season? What are you feeling out there?
We're going to get at least one early trade. And by early trade, I usually mean within the first month of early trade season opening, which is December 15th through January 15th is kind of that first month of trade season. I think we'll get at least one trade in that window. And then the rest will come closer to the deadline. That's been the trend over the last about 4 or 5 years. We've kind of gotten one deal in that window. Then the rest is much closer to the deadline.
So do you think that, though, with the tank race being what it is, that could push some teams to sell a little earlier than they normally would?
I don't think so. I think there is no reason anymore to bottom all the way out, not with the flattened lottery odds. You don't need to be so terrible. And you could have a couple teams that have pick protection stuff. Try to, like, let's say, for example, Philly, if they pivoted and said, you know what, we're going to tank, which I don't expect to happen.
No.
I think what we would see them do is I think they could be a team that would do that because they have that top 6 protected pick. So I think they'd want to be careful of that. But yeah, I think for the most part, teams will just kind of, if they're bad, and they're just going to play it out as per normal.
And do you think this will be a busy trade deadline or a light trade deadline?
Yeah, a little lighter, I think. It's just a little harder to make moves. So many teams are hard capped this year. So many teams are dealing with apron issues.
Damn,
So I
that's
think it might
CBA.
be a little lighter. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be like a complete dud. I think there's a lot of teams that feel like we're pretty good already. And there's some of those teams are pretty well set. I don't think they need a lot. So I don't know. But yeah, we've talked a lot about Houston. I think could be a mover. I think New Orleans is going to make moves. I think New Orleans they're going to give it the next month and see like, hey, what does it look like? We're healthier. Can we make a run? They got a nice win over Phoenix last night. Welcome back, Herb Jones. Holy crap. Did he make plays in that game? So we'll see what that looks like with them. But I think, I a little bit lighter, probably, somewhere in the middle. I don't think we're going to get the, he's not definitely going to give us the my Lord tweet or my God tweet because he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah,
but I don't think we're going to get whoever jumps in for Woj on that.
So, Keith, I'll tell you what, a thought that I've had for a bit now is that the NBA actually needs to move up the trade deadline by a few weeks, that it's too late in the season. Because teams do this on both sides, the buyer and the seller side, teams wait until right before the deadline to get serious about their pricing. And because of that, with deals not really getting done until the beginning of February, there's not enough of the season left for those trades one way or another, whether you're going to sell pieces and tank, whether you're going to buy and go all in. There's not enough of the season left for those moves to really take effect. I'd like to see the NBA trade deadline moved up by a few weeks because of exactly what you're saying. Like teams are like, we get one trade maybe in that December to mid to end of January window there. And then after that, that's when things really pick up. But since teams are going to wait till the deadline anyway, in order to give them time to actually have these trades mean something for their clubs, they need to actually happen earlier in the year, and it needs to be maybe a mid-January thing. That would be one of the changes I would make if I was the NBA.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of traction in that. A lot of teams would prefer it goes back to being after the All-Star break. They would rather have it be later because what they want to do is they want to have as much time with their current teams to see, all right, what are we doing, and make that decision a little later on, all right, we're going to pivot towards, development is what they tend to call it now, which is code for we're going to tank, the rest of the way. But yeah, I think the conventional wisdom around the league, and yes, there are always outliers to this, both good and bad, is you don't really know what you have till around Christmas when you're about 2 months into the season. Then you have a real good feel for, all right, we kind of know what we've got as a team. We're about a third of the way, a little bit more than that through the season, approaching the halfway point. Feel pretty good about who we are and know what we're going to be. Then we can make moves. So yeah, if you moved it up a little bit, I think that's okay. And I hear you because it feels like trade deadline into All-Star break, come out of the All-Star break, and it's just a sprint
Yeah.
to finish. And it is hard. Sometimes you see teams, especially teams like Dallas, great example. Dallas was still, now they did a great job with it, but they were still figuring out how to incorporate PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford into their lineup right up until when the playoffs started, because they just hadn't had a lot of time together as a group. And then you saw like Oklahoma City never really figured it out with Gordon Hayward. Now, I think a lot of that was Gordon Hayward based, but never really got there. So yeah, I'm with you. I think we could be in a interesting spot. You know, I think, yeah, if you moved it up a little bit, I'd be okay with that. I want to keep it before the trade, before the All-Star game.
Hmm.
That DeMarcus Cousins fiasco was so stupid.
That was a mess.
So I
That,
never want to have a repeat of that.
no, no, I think you definitely don't want something like that to happen. And also, I think if we're talking about teams that are actively making moves, the All-Star break also gives you a chance to get on the floor and practice,
Yeah.
which isn't something that teams get throughout. I mean, people would be casual fans, I think, would be surprised how little NBA teams actually practice once the season starts.
Yeah,
And so if
no
you're going
time.
to make a trade and you're going to either incorporate new players or you're going to trade away some players or something like that, and you guys are going to have to take on bigger roles, you'd like the team to have a little bit of practice time so that they can start to really fine tune things as much as possible it's difficult to make a trade and then fine tune things on the fly midseason, but you'd like to have them have a little bit of a window at least to get on the practice floor and work through some things.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think we're in a spot where teams are going to use this like NBA Cup period. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to see some
Oh yeah.
practices happen there because they've got a couple additional days off on either side. Teams don't practice unless they have 2 consecutive or more days off in a row. The one game in between is treatment, film, and usually travel. So there is very little stuff there for them or very little time rather to get into things there. You'll see the kind of the stay ready group is what most teams call them now. That's the guys at the end of the bench who don't play a lot. They may go very hard on that day in between. They'll also tend to go hard at like shoot around or before the games. If you can get into an arena early enough before games, you'll often see those guys playing like very competitive 3-on-3 games and those things. The guys who don't play a lot, sometimes a coach might be involved. Sometimes you might get like a player who's ramping up from injury to return to get in there. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of practice time. That's also why teams are doing the whole assign guys to the G League now.
Yes.
Too, because it's go
Yeah.
down and get in a run with the G League team and go. Boston did it with Kristaps Porzingis, except they were like, we're going to bring the whole G League team to Boston. They brought the entire main team down to Boston and ran the practices right there in their own gym. And then Xavier Tillman went too, just to give Porzingis an NBA quality big to work against. So yeah, the teams are getting really creative with that stuff.
So, Keith, you remind me though of something that I've been. It has not been good times in Lakerland over the last week or so, and I've gotten a little more snarky in some of my responses to stuff accordingly. But people are incredulous whenever they see a player pop up on the injury report. In this case, it was specifically Bronny James, but a player pop up on the injury report that they have not seen in an NBA game recently. But I've been reminding people with a bit of snark that these guys that aren't playing in games doesn't mean they don't play basketball. Like you said, the guys who aren't playing are the guys who are ramping up from injury, things like they're still on the court. They make sure those guys get work in. It's the guys that are on the court that they're not going to necessarily put through the paces of a full practice.
Yeah.
But the guys who are at the end of the bench, they don't want them to not play for a month and then get called upon to step into a game. And oh my gosh, they've got all this rust and all these issues. Those guys are constantly playing against each other in scrimmages and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. There's again, I'm not going to say no. NBA players are going out there and saying, just give me my check. I don't really care. There's
No.
definitely some, there have been examples of that are pretty famous over the years. But the vast majority, and when I say vast majority, if there's 540, if all the roster spots were filled, it's like 535 NBA players want to play. Like they want to be on the floor. They are not content to sit out games and miss time and all that. So yeah, it is absolutely folks there. So hey, look, we got some people first time. I saw
There we
another
go.
note, somebody else. So welcome, Ben. Glad you were able to catch the show live here. I'm trying to find the other one. Where he said he was the first one in here. Which is great. We're glad you guys are able to catch the show live. We
First
got
time caller, long time listener.
yeah, Liberty checking in, watching all the way from the Philippines. So
Oh,
love
welcome
that.
in.
Sam finally made it for a start of a front office Friday. Good. You didn't miss the yell. So yeah, good stuff. We're always happy to have you guys join us here. Get those questions coming in the chat. This is your show. We'll start pulling questions here in a minute and go through all everything you guys want to get into.
Let's in fact, let's start here. Let's go. Justin said, how does one value first round picks? So for example, the 2 picks the Lakers have, I would think, can be very valuable since they're both are after LeBron retires, assuming. So Keith, when it comes to, and I know you've got some thoughts on this, but when it comes to any asset, really, it depends on who the buyer is. There's going to be a general perception of what the value is of something. If there's a bad team that's trading away a first round, let's say there's a team that's trading away the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. Well, how valuable that is will depend on how much, let's say it's Cooper Flag. It could be somebody else, but let's say it's Cooper Flag. It will depend on how certain teams X, Y, and Z that are trying to trade for the pick are that Cooper Flag is going to be a star. And their level of belief in that may change from team to team. So a lot of it depends on the buyer in terms of how valuable that specific pick is. For example, with the Lakers picks, what one team may think, have you seen the decisions the Lakers have made under Rob Pelinka? That pick is crazy valuable. Another team might say, it's the Lakers. They always get guys. I'm not that confident they're going to be a bad team in 2029 or whatever it is. So I don't want to short the future of the Lakers. I'm not going to put a ton of value on that. So there really is a wide range of valuations for these things, depending on what the buyer believes is going to happen in the future.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's not a one size fits all answer to this question because like just using this as the example, you're there is a thought process of, all right, well, those will be post LeBron years. So maybe the Lakers will be rebuilding. I would love to have my hands on those picks. There's also a thought process of, well, by then, the way the Lakers can flip the roster because they're the Lakers, because they have that history of doing it, they could, I'm going to say bottom out, but like more clear the deck is a better way to put it. Clear the deck as best they can and reset. And by the time they do that, they're already back to being good by the time those picks deliver. So that's going to be, really your individual team's evaluation of that situation. In general, first round picks they're still incredibly valuable. Like this year, if Boston's dangling their first, that doesn't have a ton of value. Like they're not going to get a whole lot because everybody's like, they're going to finish with probably one of the top 3 or 4 records in the regular season. That's going to be a late 20s pick, and that's only worth so much. But when you get into a spot where it is further out, that's where kind of the strategy comes in. But that's all team dependent when you're trading it, who you're trading it for. If you were, let's say the Lakers were trading first round picks for a younger player who's already pretty established, well, that could lessen the value of their picks because that's a younger player who could be in the fold longer. If they were doing it for a I don't even know somebody to use an example, but if you were trading for like veteran guys who are closer to the end of their career, well, those picks may have more value because those the Lakers could you could see the wheels come off very quickly. So it really just kind of depends situationally.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be, like we said, an eye of the beholder type of thing. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Minor complaint in the grand scheme of things, but why were the Cavs and Nuggets both wearing blue when playing against each other?
Yeah. I only
Yeah,
flagged this because that kind of stuff
it
bothers me
bothered
too.
you too.
But I've gotten less bothered by it over the years. I like if it's varying shades of like a color, fine. Like if there was a big enough difference, it wasn't really close. But yeah, I'm still very traditional of the light colored jersey at home, the dark colored jersey on the road, and go with that. There are some of the alternate jerseys I really like. I mean, hand up, I did not like the Celtics black and green third alternate jerseys for a very long time. I kind of love them now. I think they look really good.
Really?
The dark green and fluorescent green, whatever version of that stupid thing is, get that thing all the way out of here, fired into the sun. The black and green ones I really like. They look sharp. I really also like. I never liked the Lakers Sunday whites for a long time
Uh-huh.
either. Then those have grown on me too. I think those are pretty sharp now too. So
Have
but we don't need 70. Like 3 is more than enough. Like I don't know, I feel old whenever I get down this topic.
I'm still mad when when I see a road team wearing their what I consider their home jersey
Yeah.
and vice versa. Like it's just a little annoyance to me. Have you grown in general on the city editions? Because I
No.
was very negative about most of the city editions, at least for the Lakers one. It's grown on me a little. I still don't think it's great, but it's better than I thought. Like actually on the players and live in a game. Has that been, or are you still just out on all the
No,
cities?
I hate them. I think most of them
Okay.
look like garbage. Like I don't even know who signs off on
How
them.
do
Like
you
I think
really
they just
feel?
yeah, I think they just look stupid. Like some of them don't even make sense. And like for example, the Pistons, I don't know if it's their city editions, but the ones they wore against Celtics the other night, the numbers are too hard to read on the back of the jersey. And I get it. People are like, okay, old man, but like I have a decent sized TV. Like I
Yeah.
have glasses that correct my vision. And then when I put it out on social media, that I was like, is anyone else having trouble? Like a lot of people reply back with like versions of, yeah, I can't really tell the 3 from the 5 from the 2. Like they were real kind of squished. So I
Hmm.
mean, some of them are okay. Every year there's a handful. I'm like, all right, that's all right. Like I loved the Wizards cherry blossom ones. I thought those were really cool.
Sure.
I loved the original Miami Vice ones, the pink and like
Is that
light
the
blue
best? Is
ones.
that the best one ever?
Yeah, that's way up there for sure. Now the ransom note ones that he did, like
Yeah.
what was
That was
that? Like,
weird.
yeah, it looked like a kindergartner's art project. Like I don't even know, but yeah, yeah, just yeah, stay with what works, please.
I still have this one, the Black Mamba one that's over my shoulder here,
Yeah, that's not
as
bad.
my favorite all time. I think that's some of my own bias coming in, but that's my favorite. But those Miami ones, I think if you polled league wide, what's the best? I think the
Yeah,
Miami ones would probably get the nod.
yeah, those were really really good.
I think I'd also give a shout out to the Suns, the Valley ones, the first ones they did. Those were great. Those were great. Okay, let's get into what kind of value does Bronny have? None. Come
None.
on, he has no
Yeah.
value.
Yep.
No
Yeah.
value.
And that's not even a Bronny thing. That's like
No.
anybody who's drafted in the second round is going to have
It-
very minimal value. The most valuable guy who's drafted in the second round right now is Jalen Walls because he's starting
sure.
and playing great for the Grizzlies. All the other second rounders, I mean, yeah, there's some guys who look pretty good, but like, there's no, you could never. Maybe he gets thrown into a trade, but it's not even. It would be just to kind of help with matching salary, if anything
W-
else. And I don't think
And
that's going to be a thing.
and no team would do that too. Like no team would specifically go target Bronny because that would mean separating him from his dad and all that kind of stuff. So like it wouldn't be worth it. It wouldn't be worth it. Somebody in the chat said I just lost where it was, but said the Lakers pick goes to the Pelicans this year. No, they traded it to the Hawks in
Yeah.
the DeJounte Murray trade. So it goes to the Hawks, who the Lakers play tonight.
Yep.
Um,
Hey, I flagged a couple. Let's save them for the end because they're non-basketball. So we'll finish with a little schedule.
oh, schedule nonsense. I like
Yeah.
it. Let's go. I just saw one of them, so I'm
Yep.
I'm
letting
excited.
you pick them because every time I try to like go and pick them, we wipe each other out. So I'm gonna let you
Cool.
captain the ship here.
Got it. I'm the captain now. I will steer us through these waters here. Um, let's see. Joe said, "Do you think Kai Soto could land on a team soon?"
He,
Probably not.
no,
Nice,
he's
very
not an
nice kid. I went out a few years
yeah.
ago and interviewed him
I
at his
remember.
training camp in Orlando, in Atlanta. Sorry, and very very nice kid, but he has some work to do in terms of the physicality and all of that that has to get there to be at the NBA level. He's huge,
Mhm.
but you could see that even in the open runs that I was able to watch him in, you could see where the physicality was something that he needed to improve upon.
Yeah, he's put together a couple nice years in Japan. This year he's been actually really good over there. But that is a far lower level down league. It's a league that's still pretty friendly for bigs. There's not a ton of size in the Japan league. It's if anybody ever sees it too, it's called the B League, and I think people automatically assume that means like second level league. It isn't. The B just stands for basketball. But it's
That's awesome.
Japan, though, is a growing area where a lot of agents are steering players to because they love basketball. The money is pretty good. It's a pretty safe place to live, and it's a very modern place. There. So there's a lot of uh, agents who, if it's like, yeah, you're not going to play over in Europe and high level Euro League, and there are a lot. I know definitely agents that prefer sending their guys to Japan over China. China still is pretty good money and it's a higher profile, so guys want to go there. But it's just kind of interesting that it's like that.
Yeah, it's funny that you say it's just for basketball. It's like the league version of just calling them the Washington football team.
Yeah,
You
kind of.
know?
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
basketball league. It
yep.
is. That's simply what it is. All right, let's go here. How realistic is it that another prospect goes number one in the 2025 draft over Cooper Flag? Keith, you are already much deeper into your draft analysis than I am. It seems to me like there's actually a decent chance of it happening. Not, I would say it's more likely that Flag goes number one overall than he does not, but it's not impossible. I mean, what my you know at a distance guess would be like 60-40 Flag goes number one. Is that how do you feel there?
Yeah, it feels about right. It's been a growing thing. He's had some issues with the jumper, with his ball handling, but he still is the safest bet to pick number one
Yeah.
overall. And it's not like there still isn't a ton of upside in the pick as well. I don't know how many people fully realize too. He is only just barely draft eligible because he reclassified. He should be a senior in high school right now. He reclassified. He's only 17. He doesn't turn 18 until right at the end of the year on December 21st. And that's how he actually it's very, very much like Wembanyama, who Wembanyama actually just missed out on it. Flag just gets in for this year's draft because you have to be at least 18 in the year of the draft. So that's part of why he reclassified. So there's still a ton of growth to come for him with his game because he's incredibly young. All that said, Dylan Harper is pushing. He's had a really nice start to the season, and there are teams that still love Ace Bailey. That are really high on him and what he can do, and then Igor Demin, who's playing at BYU, kid from Russia. He's a 6'9" guard that can handle, pass, and really play. So I think there are a major chance that he is in the mix as well. But it's still, you talk to most people, they'll throw some names out there, but the one that everybody agrees on, it'll still be Cooper Flag.
So that'll be interesting to watch as we head into this year's draft season and all of that. But I think the exciting thing in all of that you're talking about there, Keith, is that it's not just a one player draft. There's other guys that are
Yeah.
very, very good and very much to be excited about. Cooper Flag, I mean, the footage, even just the footage we broke down, what was it yesterday?
Yeah.
You can see that he's gonna be good. He's gonna be good. Now, is he a 1A? He's going to put you on his back and drag a team to the playoffs and to the finals every season. I don't know about that, but he's a very, very good player, and I think very much worth it for whichever team winds up getting that top pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he is right now he could come in and play defensively in the NBA. Like he's that good defensively. Everything else will level up as he continues to improve. And he's got a ton of room to fill out his frame too. So we'll see with that. Yeah, and then somebody called out his twin brother is still in high school. Yeah, Ace Flag. He transferred from Montverde to a school in North Carolina. The family stayed together for the year, all in the Duke area there. So yeah, it's he's going to be really good. I will be surprised if he is not the number one pick by the time we get there, but I would not be like completely shocked and overwhelmed because some of these other guys have played really well.
Let me ask you this. Is it close enough to where fit should matter with the pick?
No.
Like team A could say, well, we would get Cooper Flag, but we already have players X, Y, and Z, so we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to take the other guy. Like normally for me, fit is just a tiebreaker. So is it close enough for that to be a factor where some teams might say, I'm going to go this way because of the way our team's already structured, or is Cooper Flag far enough ahead to where fit does not matter?
Yeah, I wouldn't be factoring in fit.
Okay.
Like he's for me still far enough ahead that I would just keep him out there by himself. What does everybody want, right? Everybody wants the two-way wings that can do stuff, and that's what. Look at JJ. As I'm saying that, you have enough big two-way wings. That's
Sure.
exactly it. Now Ace Bailey is that as well, but he doesn't have anywhere near the defensive the ability that Flag does. He's a higher level offensive player right now, and there's potential that Ace Bailey could be like a superstar offensive player. Like he is really, really good. Where Flag may never be that, but that's not, now we're starting to split hairs, on a fit type question. I would go with Flag before I'd go with anybody else. Like if I was like, man, I have the first pick, but I really need a guard, I'm not going to take Dylan Harper over Cooper Flag just because I need a guard more. I take Cooper Flag and then figure out the guard position another way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go here. Jeremy said, Trevor, your Lakers, when is the conversation going to shift to player effort in this slump? So coach after coach after coach is always the issue. Oh, the conversation has shifted there. Yeah. Go check out the Lakers Nation YouTube channel. I eviscerated this team after their loss to the Miami Heat for not playing hard at all. And it's been our talking point since that game about how nothing, but you want to talk about coaching, you want to talk about strategy, X's and O's, rosters, you want to talk about the tactics, defensive schemes, all that kind of stuff. Guess what? None of it matters if the baseline level of compete isn't there. And it very much was not there against the Miami Heat. And it's also something we don't normally talk about because it's not something you normally need to talk about. Usually that's just a given that, yes, the players that are on the floor will play hard and they won't walk back in transition. They won't just look at a guy when it's their turn to make the right rotation on the defensive end. But that's exactly what the Lakers did against Miami. So 100% the conversation has been about that. Now, does that mean it's not? Because I'll get a bunch of people to say, well, but what about JJ's this? What about LeBron doing this? What about that? Look, what about the front office? Wherever you want to put blame, there's plenty of blame to be placed. You want to say it's the front office. You want to say it's the coach. You want to say it's the players. You want to say any of that. There's blame to place in any direction that you want. But yes, ultimately, the players have, number one, you got to step on the floor and play hard. If they don't, nothing else matters.
The only thing I have to add is it's already started within the team, too. I mean, they all collectively called it out. Everybody that I saw that got in front of a microphone after the Miami game all referenced some level of, we're not playing hard enough. The effort's not there.
Yeah.
Like, and you're absolutely right. Yeah. And all the rest of it doesn't matter. If you don't, if you don't do the things you're supposed to do, it's not going to matter.
Exactly. That's the biggest thing is that's gotta make sense. Okay. Let's go here. Any thoughts on Zion to WME and Agent Bill Duffy and Ingram to Rich Paul led Clutch Sports? Additionally, I was curious if Ayo Dosunmu trade for Denver makes sense. So
we talked
I guess
about the first part on a show. I don't remember. It was earlier this week, end of last week. I don't know. These weeks all run together, especially in the holiday period. But we did talk about that, and I basically said Zion kind of I don't really have a lot of thoughts on that one. There's a million other things that are more important in that situation. Yeah, Ingram to Rich Paul, and then immediately came out on the heels of it from Shams. They're either going to extend him or they're going to trade him. Like that's why he made that move, right? It's I want action. We're not going to finish out the year here, and then go into free agency without a new deal. We're either going to get extended here or we're going to get traded. So that's to me why they make that change. I thought the second part of the question is really good. I like the target idea for Denver. I think they could use another guard for sure. Right now it's kind of Russ and that's it for ball handlers that can do anything off their bench. And it's also a small enough salary that it can actually happen. Like I've seen people saying like, should the Nuggets go after Brandon Ingram? I mean, that's going to cost you Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. Like it's probably not. Wise. It's just too hard. No, but I would assume, yeah, that's definitely a tradable number you could get to with relative ease.
Do you think he's available?
Yeah, I think everybody is to some extent in Chicago. I think there can't be any untouchables on the Bulls right now. I mean, the closest thing is maybe Modest Buzelis because you just drafted him. Who also starting to play better for Chicago too. Really had a breakout game the other night and then followed up with another strong game. Did you see last night Vucevic?
I did. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah. Where did that come from?
Yeah. Spurs didn't have Wemby and Vuce is like, I'm going to plant myself in the paint and just destroy you. He is playing unbelievable. He's legit having a career year. He's up over 50% from the floor and 50% from three.
Over the summer, we were talking about whether or not he was going to hit the age cliff this year.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, good for the Bulls, I guess, because hey, now if teams are interested, maybe we make a run at Vooch, and the Bulls would be happy to. But yeah, I mean that is
look at the numbers. Yeah. I mean, good Lord.
Look, yeah. I guess he's fallen below 50%
from three. 22% from the field, 10 boards. Shoot it from three. I mean, 47% from three, 59% from the field.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Insane career year for Vooch. Still doesn't really offer a whole lot defensively, but whatever. It kind of is what it is. Well, I mean, career Sky Falcon 5 says career at 34 is not trustworthy. Yeah, obviously. We know that. But yeah, it's it still is crazy that it's even happening though. Yeah. And good time for the Bulls.
So. Hey, if anybody's going to, you said one team's going to make, well, obviously it would take two teams, but somebody's going to make a trade before the trade deadline frenzy, right?
Yep.
Who's the team?
It wouldn't surprise me if it's Ingram.
If it's the Pels, Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, I think that's a big number. So you do need a little bit of time to get there. With that, but that's also kind of like OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, which are both slightly earlier trades a year ago. That's one where you could see New Orleans, if they really say, we're not turning this around, let's start the process now. Let's get moving on some of this stuff so we can really go into full. We're going to evaluate. We're going to tell Herb Jones, we want you shooting 5 off the dribble shots per game and getting 7-8 3-pointers. Trey Murphy, we're going to put the ball in your hands and ask you to run, pick and roll more. All the things that they'll look awful probably and be bad, but it's all stuff you use the rest of the season to figure out.
Well, so let's use that to springboard into this question here. Super Chat said, Pels fan here. Do you guys think they should throw the season or make a run for it now that they're relatively healthy? Love the show. First of all, thank you for the question. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for loving the show. But I have been on the side of, yes, the Pels need to take this opportunity. They need to take the hand that's been dealt, and they need to look towards the silver lining, which is they can get a great pick in a great draft class, and they can reset things by making some moves and sending out some of these guys. I'm even for exploring the Zion trade market. That's the way I see things for the Pels. And part of that is the way the roster is constructed right now. Part of that is the math behind what the hellacious run they would need to go on to make the playoffs from here. Now, they did just beat the Suns last night, so perhaps that helps things a little bit. But where are you at, Keith, with the Pelicans? Because I think the frustration of doing what I'm saying is, but we haven't seen this team together yet. We have no idea what this team really is. So which way do you lean here?
Yeah, it's tough because they've dug such a hole for
Yeah.
themselves. They need to be 7 games better than the Timberwolves the rest of the way while also climbing a handful of teams. And
Hmm.
that's what makes it tough. It's one thing if you're 11th and you're trying to get to 10th and you're just trying to chase the team down. They have to climb Portland. That's not going to be a challenge, but they got to get by Sacramento and San Antonio, who are both still trying to win, and be 7 games better than the Timberwolves the rest of the way. Like that's really, really hard to do. But I still think give it the month, right? Give it the rest of this month. You're healthier. You're probably not going to have Zion back. It doesn't sound like till sometime in the new year, but give it the rest of this month. See what it looks like then. If you've made up some ground, let's say we get to the end of December and they're like 4 games back. All right, then let's have a conversation again of all right, do we think we can do this? We've climbed ahead of Portland and let's say San Antonio starts to drop or something.
Hmm.
We've moved ahead of them. Now we're closer. We're only 4 games out. All right, let's see what it looks like. We're getting Zion back and go. But yeah, it's tough, right? It's a spot where it's just, I mean, that's such a deep hole to climb out of. 7 games is a lot. Like it doesn't sound like it until you actually start thinking about like, yeah, they're gonna be 7 games better than Minnesota. And that's the very least you have to do right now.
Yeah. That's going to be, that's a tough climb, like you said. And it doesn't, when you look at their 23 games into the season, it doesn't feel great saying like, oh man, they're already
Yeah.
kind of out of it. When you still have, we're what, a quarter of the way into the season right now, a
Yep.
little bit more than that. That
Yep.
doesn't feel great to say, oh yeah, it's going to be really tough. I think they're kind of already out. But that's such is the state of things right now. So again, Keith, I look at what Memphis did last year, and I think they did it perfectly. Now, unfortunately, the guys they found have kind of gotten injured, Gigi
Yeah.
Jackson, Vince Williams. But you look what Memphis did. They said, you know what, this sucks, but we're going to get a high pick. We're going to get a player that's going to help us. They got Zach Edey. I think you can get an even better player in this year's draft. And they took their time. They used this opportunity to figure out what they've got and find some guys to unearth some things. Now you're getting better play out of Scottie Pippen Jr., Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams seem to be guys that you have really found when they're healthy. And so they've got something here. If I'm New Orleans, I look at what Memphis did last year and say that could be us next year. We could be the team that goes from being out of it to being right back on the rise the next season. You look Memphis right now; they're the 4 seed in the Western Conference. That is appealing to me if I'm New Orleans, but a lot of that is dependent upon finding the right deals for guys like Zion, of course, Brandon Ingram. I think that's the certain one or the most certain one to see moved, and then perhaps CJ McCollum.
Yeah, I think the other big challenge for that comparison is Memphis never got healthy.
Sure.
Right. Like that's the difference, right? New Orleans is at least getting healthy. So that's where, yeah. But if it is, hey, we got these guys back, but then like Zion never really makes it back. And then 2 more guys go down again. Yeah. Then at that point, I'm like, well, now I'm done. We tried, it didn't work. Now we're moving in a different direction. And we're going to, really, we'll take a good high draft pick this year and we'll figure it out from there. And yeah, then that's when you, start playing your 2-way guys, experiment, do some call-ups from the G League after you resolve getting out of the tax and the like, and figure it out that way. Because that's the other sneaky part for New Orleans. They're not going to pay the tax, so there's some move going to come at some point in time to get them out of the tax.
All right, let's go here. D-Rock said Kuminga on the Nets next season. How would he fit?
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you saw it, Keith, last night. The Warriors, without Steph, without Draymond, they went to Kuminga down the stretch in order to close out their game against the Houston Rockets.
Highlighted in the basketball bulletin, and like I put clips together of his buckets down the stretch.
He's especially. I mean, they literally game on the line. They went to him against, and they got the switch with Fred VanVleet out there. By the way, guys, I'll drop a link to the basketball bulletin in just a moment, but I think he'd be a good fit. I think he'd be a great fit. The question is, do you think they can pry him away from Golden State?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge, right? You're going to have to go all the way to a max because he's a restricted free agent. The Warriors will, anything shy of a max. I think they'd match. I think they might match that anyway. I think as long as he keeps playing this well, he is their bridge to. I'm not going to get into the whole 2 timelines nonsense stuff that they tried forever and didn't really ever come to fruition. But I think with Kuminga, I think what you're kind of looking at is he is the bridge to whatever you are next after Curry is aged out, after Draymond Green is gone. And I think you have to match it and then deal with your other salary concerns other ways. If that means, all right, we're going to move on from Wiggins and figure that out, or we're going to move Hield and Anderson, you do it. Because you just can't let a talent that good walk out the door. It's been a weird season for him because they shifted him back into a bench role and it got a little wonky, but he can really play. But yeah, I mean, this is what the Nets are going to do. I think the Nets they're going to come in like they did in the previous iteration of the rebuild pre KD and Kyrie, and just start throwing offer sheets around and try and if we get a guy, awesome. We got him. Like then we're happy to have him and we'll build forward with it. Otherwise, hey, now we made you pay to keep him and we'll move into the next guy.
Exactly. Guys, I did drop a link to the Basketball Bulletin, the Substack. You guys can find that. Keith's putting great stuff out there every day with his game breakdowns, throwing in the clips, getting all technologically savvy and everything, throwing the clips in there.
Bulldog can learn a few new tricks.
That's right. It happens every now and then. It happens. And also throwing a link to the YouTube channel as well, where I've been breaking down a lot of trade rumors and stuff like that I've been throwing out there on the YouTube channel, so you guys can check that out as well. Including, I just did one this morning, Keith, on the Wolves, and some rumblings. That ESPN piece suggested they should move on from Julius Randle and or Dante DiVincenzo. I'm just not there. Like, I think they've rediscovered their identity defensively. I'm not there with the Wolves where I think they should be tearing this thing apart already. I think that's more of a summertime move based on what we've seen over the last, couple of weeks from this team.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful with this, because you don't want to start turning it into a revolving door of guys around Anthony Edwards. We've seen that go sideways for teams in the past, and I'm by no means am I suggesting Anthony Edwards is the next guy to ask out, because I don't think we're anywhere close to that. But that's how the process starts, right? When it's like, well, we tried this guy for 40 games and now we're moving on, and we tried this guy and this guy and this guy. Like it's that's why you don't want to be there.
Keith, can I be history teacher for a second?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so why does the Steppan Rule, draft rule, even exist? The teams can't trade future first-round picks in consecutive years. So I'll keep the story a little bit short here, but there was a Cleveland Cavaliers owner back in the day, I'm talking the 80s, named Ted Steppan. He was notorious for trading away future picks and making some really poor decisions. In fact, it's why the Lakers got James Worthy. They were able to execute a trade with Ted Steppan. They won the championship. They got the number 1 pick because of Ted Steppan and the Cavs. So Ted Steppan, known as not a great owner, one of his promotional things, he had a softball team, a professional softball team, and a promotional event for this team was to lob softballs from a high up in Cleveland in this skyscraper, to lob softballs down for the players to catch down below. So these things are just, flying by the time they're getting to the ground. One woman broke her arm trying to get one, bad stuff. Anyway, this is the kind of stuff, the decisions he was making. So he was notorious for trading away future draft picks. And the NBA at a certain point recognized, hey, this guy's a problem. This is probably not going to go well. We're going to need to sell the team. And it dawned on them, oh my God, this guy's going to trade away picks. This is in the early 80s. He's going to trade picks into the 1990s. And then no one's going to want to buy this team because they're going to have no future. So they actually took the keys to the car, metaphorically, away from Ted Steppan, took away his ability to make trades. And he tried to get around it a little bit. But the bottom line was he got so, I want to say, overly aggressive with trading away future picks that the NBA realized, oh man, we could really ruin the future value of franchises if we get an owner in that kind of goes rogue and just trades all their future draft picks. So let's put some restrictions in place here to save teams from themselves, so that if we do have a team that we need to sell in the future, we need to flip, that team doesn't lose all of their future value because they're devoid of picks.
Yeah, I'll add too. He was a Donald Sterling level racist, like just an awful person in general too. He had a lot of feelings about teams shouldn't have all black players and black people don't buy tickets and a lot of just ridiculously awful stuff. That's just everybody better off without this guy in the in the scheme of things. And yeah, there's loopholes with the Steppan rule with the swaps and stuff in the years in
Yes.
between. And some teams have said, hey, if you have a pick in 27 and 29, you should be able to swap the 28 that's been put out there as a proposal that's been shot down. So it in general, I find the league needs to be very cautious how much they protect teams from themselves.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to do it so much that it stifles all movement. But yeah, I mean, this guy was just he was the worst.
BC said Trevor's wearing the same hoodie and hat in the Lakers Nation video this morning. Yeah, I did.
Get up and put clothes. I don't do outfit changes throughout the day.
Do you wear, like for me, I'm wearing a shirt underneath, so I'll wear a sweatshirt multiple days in a row.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm wearing the same sweatshirt and the same hat. I went with the blacked out Lakers hat because of how bad they've been playing lately. But yes, I will wear a sweatshirt multiple days in a row. I don't like doing laundry that much.
No, I wear the polo. I mean, you guys see it on the shows. I wear my pullovers all the time. And I usually only have them on for a little bit. It's been cold here, so I've been wearing it most of the day. But yeah.
All right, Keith. I'm just looking at the time and realizing that we've been talking for a while. Let's go rapid fire through a few, especially if we're going to get into our scheduled nonsense here. Why don't you take the wheel and tell me where you want to go?
Hold on, let's do this first. Like spike time. Thanks, Al.
Let's go.
Says 438 watching. That's just on YouTube. We're up at 30, almost 4,000 here in total through all the channels that are watching. So yeah, let's get that. Let's get those likes up. That helps everybody find the show, helps us and everybody else. So we appreciate it. All right, let's go to. All right, let me find ones we haven't done yet. Sorry, we did the Pels one. We did the Kuminga one. Those are the two nonsense questions. Nasty Nate asked, yes, Choice, you only need to put it in once, Nate, but thank you for the 2 super chats. I think that's the same guy. Yeah, that is the same guy. Can the Bucks trade their pick swaps with Portland to another team? Yes. How it works is you basically let's say what the Bucks have is the worst of their pick and Portland's pick. What they could do is they could trade the worst of Milwaukee's pick and Portland's pick in 2026. I don't know what year it is, but they could trade that to another team. You can trade pick swaps. It's a common misconception that you can't. It's just how you word it and phrase it. It's the same thing as like, well, this team can't trade a pick because they owe a protected pick. It won't be resolved, so I have to wait till here. You can actually do it even if there's multiple years of protection, because what you do is you write it up as if this resolves by 2025, we then get their pick in 2027. Orlando had picks like that from Chicago, from the Vucevic trade. In San Antonio, from Chicago, has picks like that right now, too, from the DeRozan trade. I think they've got one left to head their way. Sean, if you're still here watching or in the comments on the show, let us know. Are you the one who used to do the hop into the old locker room chats all the time? The Grizzlies guy, this dude, if this is the same guy, he is like the best like Southern accent like ever. Like Sean was a really good guy. If it's a guy I'm thinking of. Thoughts on the Grizz so far? Yeah, I think they're playing great. Right, they're getting healthy, playing really, really well. They got through the injuries this year without as much of a challenge. They are super duper deep with just guys who can play. Like they don't put anybody on the floor. They're like, that guy stinks and can't do anything. He's terrible. And that's huge. Like I think that is really important to be able to say. Anytime we go deep into our bench, it's somebody who knows what they're doing out there, and they don't really hurt us. I was high on the Grizzlies coming into the year. I'm just as high now. And again, another team with some optionality. If they want to make a move, they've got some stuff they can put together to go make something happen.
What do you think about them as a landing spot for Brandon Ingram?
Ooh, maybe. I don't want to upset the balance too much from you get too many guys who need the ball a lot, and all of a sudden it all starts to fall apart. the way Ingram shot it this year, that gives me a little more
Sure.
confidence that like he's been pretty good on self-created shots, not always as great on spot ups. He's been a little bit better on those this year, at least last time I checked, a week or so ago. So I'd be kind of interested with that. Like it does. I don't hate it. It's getting to that number gets a little trickier for them. You're gonna have to give up somebody good to get there. But yeah, I'm all right with that.
You know who I think is a great fit for them. I don't know about the timeline, the age wise, but Dorian Finney-Smith.
Sure. Yeah.
Put him on the
Yeah.
wing. Yep.
Yeah, I just said another defensive minded wing.
Hmm.
It's like he's not definitely Dallas would never move him, but it's like Najee Marshall that way
Yes.
for a little while, like would be
Yep.
somebody. Yeah, a couple. We'll just stick with the Grizz real quick. Tech on Morant was garbage. The first one I'm fine
Oh,
with because he did explode. It's the second one.
because he
Just
was
what?
right on the second one.
No, he was right
It was a horrible
completely.
call.
Like on the call being wrong, but that's where you just got to be. If you're him, and I called this out at the basketball bulletin when I wrote about that game today, he needs to be a little bit smarter as the leader of the
Hmm.
team, but the officials need to be way better. Just let him say his piece and move on.
Yeah.
Like, and then if you're trying to move on and he's chasing you down the floor and screaming in your face, fine. And then, of course, when you come out on the backside and they're like, oh, yeah, we were wrong on the call, well, then that doesn't look good for
No.
anybody. Can they pay BI, stay under the second apron? That's the challenge. It might be a
Hmm.
little bit more of a, might be a little bit more of a, issue where that could turn into a rental for that reason. You got to be really careful of that too. I don't necessarily want to do that. Where
Yeah.
I'm there. So yeah,
Let me address this one real quick here.
sure.
Lakers Nation is hot garbage now. Same show 8 times a week. Why did we let Caruso go, Drummond go, Zubats go, let KCP was let go? Why didn't we sign Miles Turner? Why didn't you address these terrible moves by the front office? So when I first started reading this, I assumed that when he said it's the same show 8 times a week, meaning that I've talked about those topics over and over. And this person is complaining that I haven't talked about those topics, which is complete bullshit. Sorry, but I've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
Years.
I don't even watch all that often, and I know you've been all over that.
So if you're if you're complaining that I haven't talked about those things, those literally come up multiple times a week and have been discussed literally for years. I've been talking about those moves and why they were problematic and all of the different things that have gone along. So don't come in and call my show hot garbage when clearly you haven't been watching. Because if you're watching, you would know we have talked about those in depth with great frequency as evidence of what the front office has done incorrectly and in larger conversations about what they've done correctly as well. So yeah, that is 100% not accurate.
Yeah, you talked about Caruso and KCP like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Like how like that, kind of started the slide defensively and all this stuff. Also, why'd they never sign Miles Turner? Miles Turner's never been a free agent. So there's the easy answer to that. Like, I don't know. Like that's an easy one. All right, you want to finish on some fun here? Let's pick you back up and bring you here. This question specifically, I think, for me, it is because it's addressed to me. So answer. How scared am I that Soto can go to the Red Sox? This is not Kai Soto. This is Juan Soto. I'm worried he's going to go to the Mets. Like I don't want that. That's what I'm worried about because they've made it pretty clear we're about willing to pay whatever it'll take to get him, and that's a little worrisome for me. But that's the extent of the baseball talk that I think anybody wants. Here's one for both of us.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the new Captain America movie with Red Hulk?
Okay. So I've got some thoughts here. The new Captain America movie with the Red Hulk, like on the surface, I'm like, Red Hulk, this is awesome. Harrison Ford, this is awesome. Feel terrible. R.I.P. John Hurt, I believe it was his name. William Hurt. Sorry, John Hurt, somebody else. William Hurt. So on the surface, I think it's awesome. But then I dig into it, Keith, and I read a little bit about all the rewrites, the reshoots, and things like that this movie has undergone, and I think that concerns me a little bit. My hope is that this ultimately winds up with a Winter Soldier-esque vibe. And if I can get that, I'm in because that is one of my all-time favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, I'm with you on the rewrite stuff. I'm nervous about that because that has not gone well for Marvel. Whatever projects seem to go through that, they seem to get very
They lose their way.
patchy then,
Yeah.
and it's not really like then it's just kind of a messy movie. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for how this is then going to feed into Thunderbolts because they're very clearly going to be tied together through Harrison Ford as Secretary Ross. So like that's going to be kind of fun. And it looks like Harrison Ford's just having fun. Like it looks like
Yeah.
he just everything I've seen, looks like he's just kind of out there like having fun with it. So I'm excited, for this. I where coming off Deadpool and Wolverine was pretty good. I thought Agatha All Along was a lot of fun.
I like that.
I'm encouraged for where we're going. So I'm excited to see where this all goes here in the next round of movies. So but yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, I still am in the camp of there's not very many that were bad. Secret Invasion is honestly the only thing where I've been like, this was not good. Like I really did not like it. I even, Eternals was kind of okay. And I'm glad Captain America, they're going to address like the fact that we have a giant like monster alien hand coming out of the ocean.
Right.
Like thankfully they're doing that. So
that nobody's paying attention to.
Hey, this guy with the Foundation Academy hat. You were correct. It is the first person that's ever recognized. Maybe he's a watcher of the show and knows. Maybe he's local here and gets it that way. But you're right. It is Foundation Academy. That's my my daughter's school. They've got a soccer game tonight, so we're all geared up and ready to go.
You're ready to roll. Get bundled up. Go watch some soccer.
It is not a John Morant hat, so let's go.
She-Hulk isn't good to me either. Yeah, She-Hulk got a little.
Yeah, it was She-Hulk was silly. Like
Yeah.
and I think that was kind of the intention.
They were trying to emulate the comic a little bit, which I get. I got that part of it, but there was enough of it where I'm like, it wasn't fun. You know what I mean? It just wasn't a fun.
Yeah, it could have been better. I'm excited for Daredevil. That's going to be out pretty early, I think, in the new year. That should be really, really good. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
All right. Well, Keith, did we have any others that we needed to get to, or
somebody else asked about Kai Soto? we're big in the Philippines, I think.
We are.
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, I don't know. I unfortunately, Pikachu, I don't know what you're talking about. I must have missed this whole
I didn't see that either.
So yeah,
I oftentimes am not watching the broadcast version because I'll try to catch up with the NBA League Pass version where they condense it and everything.
Yeah.
So oftentimes I'll miss stuff like that. But coaching versus player talent, why are average NBA players make better coaches than all-star players? Well, I mean, just in general, I don't know exactly what they said, but in general, what I've noticed has been with the top tier guys trying to become coaches, they have a harder time empathizing with an average player because they think, well, I would do it. I would have just done this and this, not maybe understanding that most guys can't do the things that you did. That's what made you a star level player. And that's why it can be difficult for superstars to become coaches.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Before he passed, Kobe talking about when they're like, would you ever want to coach in the NBA? And he was like, no. He's like, I love coaching my girls, but he's like, I can't. His whole thing was, he's like, I had a standard for myself way up here.
Yeah.
And I can't hold 15 guys to a standard way up here.
Exactly.
Like, it's just not possible. So yeah, that's really hard. I think also too, average NBA players, they tend to then start to focus on other things, right? Where it is, all right, how do you run a practice? How do you run a team? How does, why do we run this set when we run this? How does the front office think about these kind of things? Because they know, like, all right, I'm going to do something beyond this. And also money, right? A lot of the best players there. Why would I do that? Well, why, if I'm LeBron James and I've made, hundreds of millions of dollars playing basketball. Yeah. And then billions through everything else. Why would I go back and coach and just set myself up for what if I'm not good at it? And now that's part of my legacy is like, hey, greatest player of all time, maybe depending on him or MJ, where you feel, but like I'm a stinky coach. Like like that, if that's how it went. So yeah, that's
Mhm.
tough. But yeah, I think I get it. Like it's hard, but yeah, there. Yeah, people are calling out like great players, poor, coaches, great player, great coaches. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be examples and exceptions with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, there was one CBA question I'll answer before we go
Sure.
from Swish City. He said some nice stuff earlier about the show as well, so we appreciate that. Second apron team, you cannot do 2 for 2 or 3 for 3 trades, right? Yep, you cannot aggregate at all.
Right.
No aggregation of salaries when you are a second apron team. Or reminder, trades are evaluated where you are when you finish the trade. So if you're going to finish as a second apron team, you can't aggregate that either because you would trigger a hard cap. You'd be over that hard cap, and you're not allowed to do that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everybody, we want to thank you guys for joining us. We do appreciate all of you coming in here. And if you're not a subscriber yet to the channel, please make sure you do subscribe. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Of course, if there's anything earth-shattering that goes down over the weekend, we will jump back on.
To that time.
We're getting close. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. But otherwise, we will see everybody on Monday here on the NBA Front Office Show. Till then, everybody, see ya and stay safe.